All right, here we go. Is there a 092 in the house? 092, 092, 092. Is there a 0152? 0152. 0152. See, Vicki, you have your choice. Okay? One more. 0126. 26. 26. 26. 30. 0030. 0030. Try one more. Then we'll surrender. 0011. 0011. 0011. Wait till next time. All right. However, Pat, you won. Let's see. 8. I'm on your page 42. Don't need to spend a lot of time. It's basically obvious once you think about it. It is that language matters. And euphemisms are powerful tools. Almost all societal change revolves around invention of palatable euphemisms for what is unpalatable when it is stated baldly for what it is. So the example, estate tax versus death tax, right? Death tax is unpalatable to almost everybody. So even poor people who would like to tax rich people and who are philosophically opposed to dynastic movements of money from one generation to another basically recoil at the idea of a death tax, because it makes it sound like right with your last rattles, there's a tax collector standing there by the bed, and you have to pay to leave. That's kind of what it makes it sound like, right? Whereas estate tax, first of all, most people don't have estates. They don't even think about that term, right? They think rich people have estates. And when they hear estate, more often than not, they think about a mansion on big grounds with a castle on the hill and a Rolls Royce parked in front of the fountain. And, well, tax that all you want. Go get them, right? That's their reaction to that. Death tax, nobody likes that. Even people who would be philosophically in favor of estate taxes on the rich. So, language, right? So we have made, depending on where you are, what your position is on this. So, look at the illegal issue. See, undocumented sounds less offensive than illegal alien. Illegal alien sounds less offensive than criminal alien. And it allows Hillary's constant argument, most of these people are not criminals. Trump accused them all of being criminals, which he didn't. Most of these people are not criminals. Well, by definition they are, regardless of what you think about the issue. They broke in. If somebody breaks into your house, even if they don't take anything, they break in, and when you come home tonight, they're sitting on the couch watching TV. They're a criminal by definition. They broke in. There's no question. And if you wanted to win this issue, you should have stubbornly stuck with criminal aliens. That's what you should have stuck with. Minimum wage. So the language that that advocates of higher minimum wages want to use is living wage. And that's what we're going to wind up with in very short order, by the way. If you listen, this progression has occurred. This is nothing new. It's right out of Alinsky. It's right out of Bernays' propaganda. You got to use palatable euphemisms, and you have to change the language of the thing if you are going to change acceptance of the thing. So minimum wage is becoming living wage. If we wanted to win that argument, we should have fought tooth and nail for entry wage, starter wage, even clumsy, first rung on the ladder wage. And when everybody said minimum wage, and now when everybody is saying living wage, if everybody on the other side immediately corrected, the reporter, the pundit, whoever, and said, oh, let me be clear before I answer the question. What you mean is the starter wage, the first rung on the ladder wage. Is that what we're talking about? That would go a long way towards changing this argument. See, the argument's being lost through the acceptance of the palatable euphemism. As soon as everybody starts arguing over a living wage, the argument's lost. Because conceptually, nobody wants to deny anybody a living wage. You sound like an absolute asshole if you sit there and argue, no, people should not have a living wage. I mean, how are you going to win that argument, right? But if you argue it's a starter wage, nobody's supposed to live on it. That's not its purpose, right? They're supposed to start there. If you go get a job at the convenience store down the street here at BP, and you'd get the night shift job, which there's a sign, they're hiring, right? It's like $8 an hour. It's horrible. You're risking your life. You're working 12 to 7, and you only get to eat the stale donuts. And no, you can't live on $8 an hour. Even if you got two $8 an hour jobs, you can't live on $8 an hour. We all acknowledge that. If you have no skills and you go get that job and you show up on time and you don't steal much, in 6 months you'll be on the day shift. In 12 months you'll be a store manager. And in 24 months, you'll be a regional manager making $48,000 a year. That's how our system works. Almost every really shit job has a path. And that's its purpose, is to give somebody with no skills a place to start and crawl out of this hole. You ain't supposed to stay there and feed 3 people on $8 an hour. What should happen, instead of raising that wage, is we should round all them people up, beat the shit out of them in front of their spouses and children so everybody gets the message. And then we should take them down to the Army recruiting office and we should sign them up for 2 years. And then when they come out, we should say, you have 6 months not to be in a minimum wage job. If you're still there, we're coming and getting you again. We're going to beat the shit out of you again, and we're going to put you in the Navy. And then we're going to put you in the Marines, and then we're going to put you in the Air Force. By then, you will have figured this out. That's how we should really handle it, right? But you definitely can't have that conversation that I just had if you call the damn thing a living wage, right? So this is with everything. It's palatable euphemism. We have to make things acceptable to people that otherwise are unacceptable just because of what they are named or how they are described, right? And so you immediately change kind of everything afterwards by making that change, right? So like in my business, there is probably no worse word left on earth than workbook. It just, who wants it? Name anybody, including you, who wants a workbook. And yet you still see people using this term. That's why there's a thesaurus. This is one of the greatest tools ever invented. And clients will sit there and want to play rename the tune games with me during a $19,000 consulting day. And I'm thinking, really, you want to spend an hour on this? Go home, get a thesaurus. That's what I do. I got 5 of them. One of them's right on the computer. So for a lot of quick shit, you can just click. Even I do it. It's inside the dictionary. On mine, it's in a little red little dictionary. You click it, and there's a dictionary, and there's a thesaurus for every word. Perfect. For a lot of purposes, that does it. Oh, okay, that's what we'll call it, right? Otherwise, I got like 5 printed ones, different kinds, and so now, while I'm watching the basketball game, I got to find a palatable euphemism for workbook. I got to find something to call a seminar, but a seminar. What are we going to call it? Right? So this starts to change everything behind it. But if you don't change it, everything behind it is heavier lifting, right? So it's a very powerful thing. Hijack number 9. And we've referenced it as we've gone along a couple of places. So there is a desire to know why. People want to know why. Okay? They don't need much of an explanation, but they kind of feel unsatisfied without an explanation. So like on 44, you don't need to guess. However, for the benefit of Bill and Jason, it's B. Because it has a reason why, which instantly makes it more believable, more satisfying. The person can give a little nod. Oh, okay, this must be true because they've added whatever the hell they've added, probiotic enzymes, right? So when you are going to put something in front of somebody that they might question, it's useful to have the reason why. Virtually every culture, I'll get myself in trouble with my friend again. Virtually every culture, many, if you go back far enough in time, did it independent of other cultures. So this was not like working off a swipe file. Virtually every culture developed a religion. Hard to find a culture that didn't. And many developed their religions in isolation, independent of anybody else. So it's not like, oh, okay, I like theirs, but I want somebody that flies. I mean, so we'll change a couple things. That's what happened. That's like happened late, but not early. So every culture developed a religion. If it was innate, everybody would have developed the same religion. But they didn't. So it's not innate. It's a response to a need and a desire. It's a coping mechanism. Now, yours may happen to be the right one, and if so, congratulations. But understand that the first few savages who decided there was a sun god, which that religion still exists, they did that to explain the sun. Because what everybody does innately want is an explanation. And so for the unexplainable, the explanation, every culture created for itself was a religion. I'm not passing any judgments. So whatever yours is, again, it might be the right one. And there's a few close enough, there might be 3 or 4 right ones. You know, I was raised Lutheran. That's Catholic without confession. And And we still ate fish on Friday, just in case. And by the way, there's a reason I was not welcome in catechism class. I don't remember the guy's name anymore, but it's one of the few things in life I actually feel a little badly about, because I really did torment the guy. And he had real loose floppy pants. And by the end of every catechism class, he was jumping up and down, vibrating, so annoyed. His pants are going up and down his legs. I mean, I drove him nuts. And I kind of feel bad about it. I probably ended his life prematurely. But on the other hand, maybe he should thank me. So this is, so you have on your page 45 a control ad with very little change, 30, 35 years. A friend of mine, Mark Kress, made a lot of money. You guys all know Ron Popeil's spray hair in a can. This is not that. This actually is derivative of stuff that was and is used in Hollywood. I used to use it for video and photo when I had enough hair for it to stick to, because it is what it says, and you shake it out of a can like a salt shaker, and it's fabric, really, but it's made to stick by static cling to hair. So you can cover up a little bald spot with it pretty good. Unlike what they claim, if it rains, you're still screwed. And the texture's not right. So if she runs her fingers through her hair, she's coming off with some of this in between her fingers. I mean, it's $9. You kind of get what you pay for. But like for photography, so a lot of photography studios have it. It's sold to them under a different brand name, but they have it. So they can quickly fix you for a photograph. And if you're doing video, it does work. But you got to have enough. It's got to cling to something. But what's important about this ad to know is that this is like the 4th generation of the ad, and each time he added more explanation, because people want to know how this can work. And the explanation of how this works really helps this ad. You have 14 pages in here from other sources, starting on page 46. They're essentially an extra gift. We are skipping over them. They are yours to do with as you wish. And I'm going to page 59. Copywriting hijack number 10 is specificity. If I do a copy critique, more often than not, this is one of the things I get to critique. And I get to say, here's a base you're missing. Because most people don't put in enough specifics about the product or service, about the story they are telling, about the testimonial person they are showing off, about anything and everything. So, for example, in Miracle Air, we did a lot better once I created specifics about every testimonial. So, okay, she's a registered nurse. Great, because that's high credibility. In case you don't know it, in alternative health stuff, RNs are more useful than RMDs. They are more believed. They are more trusted. But how long has she been an RN? Is she at a brand name hospital? Does she have grandkids? Does she, what now? What can we say about this person and their specifics that makes them even more meaningful as a testimonial than, now where I started was name and initial. That's where I started, because that's what they were doing. So that's as vague as you can get. Barbara N. It's also as uncredible as you can get. because everybody knows we could just be making them up. 2/3 of the time when you see that, they are just making them up. And do you remember Tommy Vu? Get Rich in Real Estate. SNL used to make fun of the infomercial in the hot tub with the babes. So Tommy's whole infomercial, when he got busted, and Tommy went to jail, the entire infomercial was shot word for word from another Get Rich in Real Estate guru show from the 1960s. So not only didn't he change the script, which would be bad enough, he didn't change the testimonials. He just had the testimonials say the same thing that the testimonials said in that. Well, you know, why reinvent the wheel? The regulators noticed, and it was hard to make an argument then that any of this might be real. But generally, when you see Nancy R., often there is no Nancy R. And even if there is, people are going to think there's no Nancy R. And so the more you make that person real, the better you are, right? The more story details, right? If it's on a dark and stormy night, that's better than just starting with, I was driving down a road. How does that help sell something? It does because it makes the story believable. It's the trivial details that make these things work. Comedians who are storytellers, not one-liners, they play with it to get the trivial details right. It affects the laugh you get. Whether the person you describe had a gray jacket or a blue jacket and had a golf swing like a bad barn door or had a golf swing like a windy trip, that stuff matters. And they play with it and play with it until they get it the way it wants. So you can take a base, as a performer, you can take a base joke out of a joke book and you can tell it 22 different ways because of the trivial details that you put in. If it's got a dog in it, what breed of dog, right? And did the dog have one eye that pointed off in a funny direction? And what was the dog's name? I mean, all that stuff affects the impact of the story. And if it's a joke, it impacts what kind of a laugh it gets. And if you listen to a long joke story, comedians who do not punchline, 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 but long story, punchline at end, you will find that the story is really detail-rich all the way along. If you've never heard it, Google Charles Jarvis and try and find the bird joke. I used to be able to do it verbatim. I can't anymore, and Charlie still does it 10 times. He's dead, but Charlie dead does it 10 times better than I would do it. So, but it is one. Now there's some laughs, but there's no punchlines along the way, and it is one long-ass joke to get to a punchline. And so Jarvis was like one of the #1 humor speakers for a number of years in America, and his buddies all kept telling him he should go on Carson, and they finally got him on Carson, and it was horrid. I mean, he bombed like probably nobody is, because you only got like, 3 minutes. And Charlie's used to using 7 minutes to tell a joke. It's a different skill set, right? But, so if you go get the bird joke, you will see just how much rich detail there is all the way along. Plus, it's a good joke. You'll enjoy yourself. So, specificity. I can almost always go through somebody's copy, and I can see that they are light on the specifics. Now, back to earlier, in many cases, they're light on specifics because they were overly concerned with length. So I may take 4 paragraphs to tell a story that could be told in a paragraph if you took out all the damn detail. If you left off, it was a dark and stormy night. If you left that out, obviously you could shorten the story. But now we're back to efficiency, effectiveness. That's really what we're back to. Hijack 11. This is a goodie. So what people, their pre-existing belief is, if I only had X, everything would be different. So most small business owners, for example, believe if they could only get the capital they need, everything else would be different. Everything else would take care of itself. The reason I can't get anywhere is because no bank will loan me any money, and my mother-in-law won't give me any money, and I can't get the capital I need. That's their pre-existing belief system. Almost everybody in a professional practice, dental, chiro, podiatry, law, accounting, here's their pre-existing belief. If we had twice as many new patients, everything else would be different. Of course, if everything else is royally screwed up, twice as many new patients will change very little. And it might even change things for the worse, not for the better. A miracle ever came when we started with a $2 million project. I begged him to take $1 million off the table and go fix their phone and their salespeople. So just let's scale my thing in half. Go take the money, fix your internal operations. Because if I pour 4 times as many prospects into the system you got, I'm going to actually make things worse. Because everything you're doing is screwed up. It's a mess. If Disney didn't function and you 4 times the number of people showing up at Disney every day, you wouldn't fix anything. Nothing fixes itself. I mean, it'd be a horror show, right? It's barely not that now. And they got everything running on all cylinders. But so everybody has one of these beliefs, right? And it's there that then creates the lust for a one-thing answer. And even smart people, so one of the 5 top questions I always get, got some version of it here yesterday, I think, right, is, well, so it's asked in all different ways, but the point is the same, right? Oh, you just gave us 57 things, which are the 5 most important. But what he really wants to know is what's the one? Right? Now, from a self-serving standpoint, see, you can't sell a card with 1 on it, even though that's what they want, right? But beyond that, it's the wrong answer, but it's the answer everybody's looking for. It's why when I talked about the light your fire thing yesterday, that's why it was so magical, is I'm going to give you one thing to do. You're the only person who has to do it. He doesn't even have to know you're doing it, and magic will occur. Great, right? If he would just listen to me, this is going to fix that, right? This is going to do it. So people are very vulnerable to this, including smart people. So how many of you read Gary Keller's book, The One Thing? Raise your hands. It's more instructive. Now look around at everybody, at all the suckers who should know better. You can put it down now. Who should know better before and after. And to be fair, the book is actually not about one thing, right? It's there's a mermaid inside. Come on in, it's that. But in reality, you're all smart enough you should have instantly rejected the premise. Just like the premise of the 4-hour work week, right? You really should have refused to read it based on the title. But you couldn't wait to read it. Because even though you know better, you'd like there to be one thing. We'd all like there to be one thing, right? So this lust for this is very high, and it makes people very vulnerable. So I can do an entire, as I have, 3 days, 4 days on money and wealth. Here's what I get mail about. The giving account, wealth account. That's what I get all the mail about after the fact. The one thing to go do. It's simple. It's easy. It does require a little discipline, but it's simple, it's easy, and it promises magic. And people go and say to themselves, I'm not going to do any of the rest of this shit, but I'll do that thing. And it's magical. And that's what I get all the mail about. If that wasn't there, people kind of would be unhappy with the whole deal. They really like that. I know why they like it. Because it's one thing, it's simple and easy, and it's magical. When Foster used to teach it, he used to teach it in a 7-day workshop. And he said, the only thing they really like is that. They tolerate all the rest of it, but they really like that. Of course. Of course. It's Viagra. One pill fixes everything. Right? And so this is there. And you will see some version of the one thing in a lot of very smart marketing. So I gave you, starting on page 63, I gave you some of the Burleson copy, where I have made the smile the one thing. If your kid has a perfect smile, everything else falls into place. All the negatives go away. There's no risk of them committing suicide, even though teenagers are committing suicide like every minute. There's no possibility of them being shamed and bullied in social media. So all the bad stuff goes away, and all the good stuff occurs. They'll have wonderful self-esteem. They'll get into a good college. They'll have a happy life. All will be well. One thing. That's all we got to do. You don't have to fix anything you're doing as a parent. You can be the same crappy parent you were yesterday. Just fix the kid's teeth, and everything will be fine. That's what I've done. Now, maybe I should be ashamed, but I don't. Then on page 67, so I've given you another example. This is a current control. And this is not direct mail, this is print. This is a magazine ad. So it's 4 pages of pretty dense copy. It runs in, so I'm starting on 67, looks like this. It runs in high-end, mostly, affluent-oriented magazines. Rob Report, Town and Country, private jet magazines that only people see if they fly private. There's a fake magazine put out for women in those terminals called New Beauty. I think you can also buy it at Barnes & Noble, but it's not a real magazine. It's completely a sales document. But this is running in like Elite Traveler, and it's running in Town and Country for a product called Celergen, which is Swiss cell therapy. Incidentally, the minute it's from somewhere else, you understand it's better. So that's the water deal, right? So all this stuff it never ends. It just keeps. So, if this was Chicago cell therapy, everybody go, Detroit cell therapy. Really? All right? Swiss cell therapy. Oh, wow. Switzerland, right? So this is a throwback. So this stuff does everything. If you read this whole ad, this one thing does everything. It regenerates the skin. It gives you more stamina. You have more energy. You sleep better. Your muscles don't ache. Your mind focuses better. You recover from surgery faster. You don't need mood-altering drugs. Scars and age spots go away. Joint pain goes away. Arthritis pain goes away. What else happens here? Blood sugar's controlled better. Mental clarity's better. Sexual performance is better. Your immune system's stronger. There's a key line on page, starts on 69. They would ask if I had gotten, my skin looked so good, they would ask me what I'd done. When I had done nothing at all except take Celergen. There's a great line then on that next page, it's marked. It's as if one tiny capsule has an intuitive knowledge of what ailment a person needs addressed. The pill itself diagnoses. You eat it and it goes, oh shit, his knee aches. Boom, get the knee. Oh, his dick won't stand up. Get that. His skin's got wrinkles on it. All the wrinkles go away. It's incredible. What a line. I'm like, got to give him credit where credit is due. So your grandmother, probably even your grandmother. Is your grandmother alive? So here's a question to go ask her. If she's ever taken Geritol, go ask her, okay? You'll get an interesting answer. So most of our moms, and if not your mothers, your grandmothers, all took Geritol. Mainstream product, you could buy it off any drugstore shelf. It was heavily advertised on Lawrence Welk. You'll have to Google, I know. Heavily advertised on Lawrence Welk. So, I mean, half the country took a capful of Geritol every day. A bunch of people took more than a capful because it was 28% alcohol. So it did have a mood-altering effect. So like my grandma, who never drank in her life, complete Tito, you know, she's slugging Geritol, okay, because it's medicine. And Geritol was this in a bottle. There wasn't anything, this is the Geritol pitch, probably close to word for word, now in 2016. Because Geritol took care of everything. Internal, external, sleep, energy, sex, mood, arthritis, whatever. Geritol. Iron poor, tired blood. That's right. So grandma slugged it like when she was going to go out and mow the lawn, because that would fix it so she didn't have aches when she came back from mowing the lawn. Grandma slugged it if we were coming over because she couldn't stand my mother. So this would help, you know, get her through the dinner. So my guess is she's taken, you know, 8-10 shots of this stuff a day would be my guess, you know. But that was Geritol, which is this pitch. If you go find old Geritol pitches, it's this pitch. The Geritol pitch is Lydia Pinkham's Pink Pills from the turn of the century. So if you go look up Lydia Pinkham, Pinkham, Pink Pills, turn of the century, 1900s, same pitch, all the way to the point that the pill was smart and knew what you needed and where you needed it. Same pitch. A one thing pitch. It's a very powerful thing because everybody wants it. I think we can get this done and still go to Dave. So, hijack number 12. I call it the arrow to the heart. So ultimately, everything boils down to 4 things. Self-interest. Ayn Rand is right. Almost everybody, almost all the time, is actually acting out of self-interest. If you clean up the kitchen and you're a married guy, you didn't do it just to be nice. You did it so you wouldn't get bitched at. You did it to try and buy points so you could go play golf on Saturday. You did it to try and have sex. You did it for some self-interest reason. You didn't do it to be, you may con yourself into, I'm just being nice, but that is not what you did, because it's not what anybody does. Charities screw this up all the time. Way too much emphasis on being a nice person and not enough emphasis on how you're going to feel because you're a nice person. Yeah, we'll give money because I don't want to take it totally away, but there's a lot of self-interest going on. Self-esteem, it's a form of self-interest. We'd like to feel good about ourselves, not bad about ourselves, and we'd like to feel better about ourselves this afternoon than we felt when we first got up this morning. So we are always trying to do things that reinforce a positive sense of self. Then there are, for the most part, single male motives and single female motives. Yes, I know there are exceptions. Yes, I know I am wildly generalizing. Save the notes. Okay? So on page 72, here is that. All of the stuff we manipulate ultimately boils down to either pain or pleasure, loss or gain. We'll take the guys first. Men are more hardwired for conquest, victory, therefore for gain, than they are hardwired for fear of loss. Now that doesn't mean fear of loss doesn't work with them. It does. But by and large, they are more motivated by, and it's hardwired. It's leave the cave, go kill something, bring it back. Okay? So it's baked in. Now, you cross because if you don't kill something today and you come home empty-handed, right, you don't eat, that's loss. And maybe she leaves. And now you got to clean the cave yourself. So there's loss, right? But what's baked in is, I'm going to go kill something. And so why are there so many more male golfers than female golfers? It's because women look at it and think, this is stupid. All right? And guys go, club, kill something, small ball, come back, brag. All right? That's why there's so many more male golfers than there are female golfers. Women look at it and say, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. The hell do I want to learn that? Right? So this is where you want to play. Doesn't mean you wouldn't even lead with this, but this is your greatest leverage with guys. This is why, for example, for the most part, guys don't go shop as a recreational, entertaining activity. It's baked out of us. If we leave the cave, we want to drag something back. It's that simple. And so that doesn't appeal to us. So you go to the movie, you saw a movie, and you now have something in your head that you saw. You left the cave, you came back with something. If you go to the mall and walk around and you come home, you got nothing. And that's not baked in. Well, if you buy, see, and that's why we go to buy. Okay? We buy something even when we went just to look. So we go over to the Bass Pro Shops. We're just going to go hang out and look, and we buy something because we don't want to come home not having conquered something. Guys are much more likely to tell their conquer stories. So at the end of the day, how was your day? We tell a conquer story. I went to the post office and there was this moron in front of me and she almost killed me and she was texting and I had to drive through the ditch and around a tree and I survived, and then the clerk at the post office was a moron, but I got it done and here I am home. She tells a story about the conversation she had with the clerk at the post office who has a kid who's going to college in Poland, and grandma was Polish too, and we exchanged recipes. Same errand. Same errand. No guy comes home and tells that story. Oh, I met Bertha at the post office, and Bertha's Polish, just like your grandma, and here I got her recipe. I mean, see, that's not what we do. There are exceptions, but not many. On the other side, women are hardwired for this. We are more external, they are more internal, and they are much more about security and safety than they are about conquest. That doesn't mean they can't be, this isn't part of the mix, but it is much more often your leverage is here. This is why, by the way, marketing messages aimed at both genders are more difficult to make work than if you split the genders and you can talk to them differently. All of the Glenn Turner companies and all of the Tollison companies that followed, one of the things that was done at all the opportunity meetings is you, at one point, you put the women in one room and you put the men in the other. And you talk to them differently. Because you have to talk to both of them when you have them in a room, and you can't be as blunt with either one of them. So on your page 74, here's like finding the best orthodontist. So stuff I've been working on very recently. So again, self-interest, right? Well, okay, I want to get the best value. I don't want to overpay. I want it done right. Why do we want it done right the first time? That's self-interest. Yeah, the parents say I want it done right so the kid doesn't suffer. Really, they want it done right the first time so they don't suffer. I don't want to have to go back there 16 times to get these damn things adjusted. I got shit to do. That's what is going on in the head. That's going on more in the male head than it is in the female head, but it's going on. Okay? Self-esteem. This is a way to get a good parent award and assuage my guilt about whatever I'm doing that is not a good parent that I know I'm not doing. And it gives me some bragging rights with competing parents, which, by the way, you probably, if you don't have kids, you don't know this. Everybody that's got a kid is a competing parent, right? You're all competing to be a better parent than the parents that your kid plays with, because he comes home with a story about how much better that house is than your house, and then you got to fix it. That's what goes on all the time. So it's a self-esteem issue. Now, the male, look at what is going on in his head. Wants the kid to look better, right? Kid's got crooked teeth. It's embarrassing, right? He may brag even about how much he spent. Women tend to brag about how little they spent. Can't believe it. I got these shoes and I got them at Kohl's, and so I had a coupon, and then I got 20 Kohl's dollars back, and before it was all over with, they paid me $2.80 to cart these shoes out of here, okay? Right? That's a woman's conversation about buying shoes, right? Guy's conversation is, I got these boots, and they're made by Charlie One Horse, and they're $1,800. So up your butt. I got 18. It's a whole different conversation just about buying shoes, right? Credit for the selection. Guy wants credit for finding the best whatever. What's her deal? She wants an emotionally healthy kid. She isn't in as much to what the kid looks like as how the kid feels. How's he going to do? Is he going to be safe? Etc. And they are more worried about impending tragedy than they are about victory. It's hard to convince a guy his kid might commit suicide because of what goes on Facebook. Because guy goes, my kid's tougher than that. Easy to scare her. Easy to scare her. So this is a different conversation with each person if you can have it. I am incredibly, again, actually where I'm supposed to be. I am going to stop and pick up where we are after lunch. Between now and lunch, we are going back to cold read and cold read copy for no good reason other than it buys me another contiguous 15 minutes to lunch, just for the record. That's quite an introduction. Yeah. Yeah. So So since you were snide about it, he needs no introduction. And here's Dave on cold reading, okay? And remember lunch, as usual, and today is Richard Seppel, I'm virtually sure. And not only is there data mining stuff, but he has some new stuff about accuracy in what's going on with your online marketing that's really pretty cool. So there you go.
Thank you. Let's hear it for Dan. Good morning. All right, so we're going to do some cold reading, but before that, one of the things he was talking about, and so I went to my course and I actually pulled out a script for you guys. For those of you who have people that come into your office or into your showroom, if you're a car dealer or something like that, what should you say? What should the people say? Anyone interested in that? Okay, so you're going to want to write this down. I took this right from my course. Yeah, I have a course. Psychic salesperson. Yeah, thank you. Get people shilling for me out there. Okay, so first the premise of this, then we will get into the cold reading stuff, but I thought this was really important. When you meet somebody for the first time in any situation, whether it's on the phone or whether it's in person, even through copy, what you want to do is you want to get them to say yes a number of times immediately. So if you can get them to say yes 5 to 7 times right away, there's actually psychological studies on this that show that your conversion rate goes much higher, right? So you get them into what is called an agreement frame, right? So they're saying yes, 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 yes right from the very beginning. And so that's the premise behind this. And so instead of saying, hey, can I help you, which is what's the immediate answer? No, right? What we want to do is we always want to align with our prospect. Okay, we want to have an alignment with them. So the first thing to say is, are you just looking and shopping around? Right? So if I'm a salesperson, you come let's say onto my lot, right? I'm a car salesperson. Hey, are you just looking and shopping around? What's the person going to say? Yes. Now, if they say, no, I want to buy a car, that's fine too. But I'm getting the yes, I'm not getting the no, and it's very disarming because they've never heard a salesperson say that before, all right? And then the next thing you would say to them is, hey, it's a great day for doing that, isn't it? And what are they going to say? Yes, right? So first line is to align with them, right? So, hey, are you just shopping and looking around? Great. It's a great day for doing that, isn't it? Yes. So we got yes, yes. All right? The next thing is, if you have any questions, just feel free to ask me. Sound good? Person says, yeah. Okay, great. And then you do what I call, so that's the next line, okay? If you have any questions, just ask me. Sound good? They say yes. All right? And then you do what's called the Columbo strategy. And remember the show Columbo? Well, what did he always do? Right, yeah, he'd always walk away. Right, like the conversation was done. So as you train your salespeople or yourself to walk away, start to walk away. Turn back and say, is this the first time you've been here? Is this the first time you visited this shop? Right? So now the person needs to answer the question. Regardless of what the question is, you then go into what the core story is of the automobile dealership, of the furniture store, of whatever it is. And now you've engaged in a conversation with them, you've developed rapport with them, you've got them to say yes a number of times, and now it changes the whole dynamic. Right? So did everyone get all of those? Really, really powerful. It's simple, but the key is that the key is at the end is that Columbo strategy. You walk away, okay, yeah, is there anything I can do? Just ask me. Sound good? Great. Oh, by the way, is this the first time you've been in here? Yeah, it is. Oh, let me just tell you about, right? And then you go, then you need to develop your core story, which is a whole other teaching aspect. But everyone get that? Okay. Good. See? Okay. So look how many times I got you to say yes. I'm not even selling anything. Okay. All right. Okay, let's talk a little bit more about cold reading, how to read your prospects' minds. We're going to be doing some more of the Barnum statements, and I'm going to be going over that in a little bit more detail. But one of the first things that if you go see a psychic reader, if you want to really mess up a psychic reader, what you do is you don't say anything, okay? You really don't give them any feedback whatsoever. By the way, there's two types of psychics. So there's the psychics that make a lot of money, and there's the psychics that don't. And the psychics that make a lot of money are using a lot of these techniques called cold reading, all right? And by the way, cold reading is really a series of techniques. It's not all generalized statements. It's a series of techniques. But the really good ones are following a system, right? Then there's what are called shut-eyes, which people who really believe that they are psychic, okay? So you're leaving? You're blowing it, man. You're blowing it. Okay, all right. So it's always fun. Okay, so one of the first things that a psychic needs to do, a good one, they follow a strategy, and the first thing is to encourage cooperation, right? Encourage cooperation. And when we're selling, we want to also encourage cooperation, right? And so here is an actual script for encouraging cooperation, all right? I'm going to have to go over here and read it. It says, okay, so we'll use a financial advisor, but this is really a fill-in-the-blank script. Now, if I was a psychic, I would be saying different things, but this is a great way, after you've done some small talk and you've developed rapport and everything like that, this is a great script to use. Mr. Smith, I've been helping people reach their financial goals for over 35 years. So obviously I'm experienced, all right? So let's just analyze that one little sentence right there because it seems very innocuous, but it's really powerful. So the word obviously is extremely powerful. Whenever you say the word, it's called an ly word. Whenever you say an ly word like obviously or naturally, what tends to happen is whatever is said afterwards is accepted. All right, so because it's just hardwired into us. If we use obviously or naturally, what we say, whatever comes after that's accepted. All right? All right, so obviously I'm experienced. And of course I prepared for our meeting by doing some homework regarding your situation. But as you know, okay, so as you know is an assumptive statement. And you can use as you know in a lot of different situations. Okay, as you know, as you are aware. Now, even if they're not, again, what you say after that, they tend to agree with, all right? So, as you know, every person is different. Every person has different goals, outcomes, desires that they want to achieve and fulfill. So, obviously, there it is again. I want to make suggestions about a plan of action before. I don't want to make suggestions about a plan of action before finding more out about you and about what your financial goals are. Okay, that makes sense, doesn't it? Right? And so right there, by them, now they're going to answer your questions. Right? And now you're going to go into a series of questions to elicit their values, find out what they truly desire. But if you don't use this before going into trying to elicit their values, a lot of people will hold back and not give information. So that's why a psychic would use a variation of that script so that the person will then start giving them information which they can then feed back later in the reading. We're doing it so we can elicit their values, get them to talk, and find out what they want, and then structure our sales presentation around that, around what they told us that they want. Does that make sense, everybody? Yes, okay. So, the Barnum statements, there's actually 12 Barnum statements. Dan gave you some of them. And it's actually called the Foyer effect, if you want to look it up, F-O-Y-E-R, Foyer effect. And there was a professor who said said that he did a personality analysis on his class, on each individual member in the class. And he gave everybody an envelope, and inside the envelope was a scientific personality analysis. And he had everybody read it to themselves, and he asked, how accurate was this? And he said, how many people had 80%, 90% accuracy, 95%? Almost everybody's hands went up. Then he revealed to them that it was all of the same, right? So all of the personality readings were exactly the same, right? And so again, people have a tendency to figure out or associate with what you say, try to figure out a way to make it work for themselves, all right? But here's what's really interesting, which a lot of people don't know. Later on, they did an experiment where they did the complete opposite of those Foyer statements, or those Barnum statements. The complete opposite, right? Did the same experiment, and again, 80 to 85% of the people said, yeah, it was 80, people said it was 80 to 85% accurate, right? So really cool. So here is a really good one, and I'm going to share, the other thing that Dan didn't talk about, and why this makes so powerful either in one-to-one selling or one-to-many selling, such as in copywriting, is that you're also developing rapport. You're developing a real level of rapport. Because when you use these statements, the person who you're using them, whether they're reading it or whether you're talking to them or whether it's on video, is saying, hey, this person really understands me. They understand me. And right, and don't you, if you feel like somebody really understands you, right, don't you feel immediately closer to them, like them, and trust them? Yes, right? Okay. So, you pride yourself on being an independent thinker and don't accept other people's opinions without satisfactory proof. Now, where do you go with that? So that could be in copy, or that could be when you say it. Now, this is the person's going to say, yes. So then you go and you move into your testimonials and your social proof and all of that. Here's what's powerful about that, though. So it's a perfect lead-in. You're using cold reading to lead in to showing testimonials. But here's what's exciting. You pride yourself on being an independent thinker and don't accept other people's opinions without satisfactory proof. They say yes to that. Therefore, it carries, because we want to be congruent with ourselves and what we say, it carries that if we give them satisfactory proof, right, they will accept that what you're saying is true. You guys following that? I mean, it's really, really powerful. So it's more than, so look what's happened. Number one, the person says, yeah, God, this guy understands me. That's exactly right. That's exactly who I am. And then when you get that person to agree that, yeah, if I get satisfactory proof, I'm in, that's what happens with that statement. Another Barnum statement. You prefer a certain amount of change and variety and become dissatisfied when hemmed in by restrictions and limitations. This is really, really powerful to use if what you're doing is something that's a little bit different. All right? Or it's a little bit off, something that they're not used to doing. So again, if they agree to that, and who's not going to agree to that, right? If they agree to that, it also carries that you can show them something. By the way, this stuff all works. When I was, I shouldn't tell you that. Okay, but all right. When I was dating, all right, this stuff works like magic, right? Because dating is selling, right? Huh? Oh, easy there, killer. Okay. All right. Now, here's a really great one. All right. So this one combines a whole bunch of stuff. The cold reading line is the one in red. At times, you've had serious doubts about whether you've done the right thing or made the right decisions. Absolutely. All right? So I'm just using this as a financial advisor example. Of course, everyone has had their ups and downs and struggled financially at times. That's only to be expected. But if you implement this plan now, your future looks very bright. So this is a Barnum statement combined with something else called predicting the future. All right? So one of the things you go to a psychic, right, is because they want to predict the future. Dan talked about future predictions. But it's even more powerful than that, because there's a whole bunch of stuff going on here. The first thing is that at times you have serious doubts. That whole statement, again, is a rapport building. Yes, that's me. He understands me. The next thing is saying, hey, it's okay, right? You've had ups and downs, but there's also something called an embedded. So we're also predicting the future, but in that little statement, there's also an embedded command. The embedded command is implement this plan now, right? So the guy is saying yes to that, right? So it would read, by the way, we don't have time to go to this in detail, but embedded commands, even in copy, are really powerful. Now, verbally, it would sound like you struggle financially at times. That's only to be expected. But if you implement this plan now, your future will look very bright. So there's a slight pause. Now, by the way, it doesn't read like this. That's only to be expected. But if you implement this plan now, right, that's no good. Your future looks very bright. In copy, the way I do it is I break it apart. Like I use ellipses or I use dashes, right? So I break it apart like that in copy. I'll underline it. I'll highlight it. So you can put in an embedded command. And if you read Dan's stuff and you read my stuff, there's a ton of embedded commands inside the copy. Does everyone follow me in this? Okay. All right. Another type of cold reading, I'm just cranking these out really fast so we can get through them all. Another type of cold reading is called the ego stroke. The ego stroke. And this goes directly to one of the mind hijacking things that Dan talked about yesterday. All right? So here is how you apply it either in person or in copy. And again, I'm using just the financial advisor's example here. Okay? You know, Mr. Prospect, although your portfolio might not be the largest I've ever seen, and that's an important line. Because when you're doing the ego stroke, people aren't stupid. Right? Your prospect isn't stupid. And so when you go way over the top using that strategy, it comes across as manipulative, and a tactic known as a tactic blown. So we want to be a little bit more subtle. So by saying, hey, you know, your portfolio might not be the largest I've ever seen, that's an important thing, right? So you want to make, you're going to give them an ego stroke, but you want to make it sound realistic so it sounds real to them. So it sounds like it's a real compliment. It's much more impressive than most, and you definitely have planned for your future better than most of my clients. Okay? So again, the important part of that is when you're going to do that strategy that Dan talked about over the weekend, or a couple days ago, it's important that you add in that little disclaimer, okay, that little takeaway. And then one of my favorite, I think this is the last one, and we'll be right at 15 minutes, which will be perfect, is what I call the mind reading strategy. And this is how you can actually plant a thought in someone's mind. And it's by using a series of words. And the words are, you might be wondering. Okay? You might be thinking. And again, this translates. Remember, copywriting is just salesmanship in print. So whether you're selling in person or you're selling in copy, same thing. All right? It might be on your mind. Two things can happen here. One, they are thinking that. All right? And so in essence, you have, quote, read their mind. Right? But the second thing is, if they weren't thinking of that, the minute you say that, you've planted that thought in their head. So now they are thinking of it. So if you ever want to get people to think about something, right, you just simply use those phrases. You might be wondering, okay? You might be thinking. It might be on your mind. And then it instantly is put into their mind, and they are thinking about it. If they're already thinking about it, you're in good shape too. So let's give you an example of that, all right? And here's one this is one you can take and use like immediately. You might be wondering, can I really get, so you've described all of the benefits that they're going to achieve, right? Everything that they're going to achieve. So can I really get this benefit, and this benefit, whatever the benefits that you just sold them, right? And then again, I use another embedded command, if I invest in this product or service today. So you might be wondering, can I really lose 10 pounds, 3 pant sizes, and have McDonald's every single day? Right? Whatever it is, all right? And so now, either they are wondering that, and we want them wondering that, all right? But then we add in the embedded command of, if I invest in this product today, or if I invest in this service today. Everyone following that? Okay. Any questions on this? It's pretty straightforward stuff. Okay, cool. So, yeah. Yeah, what? It goes without saying, yes. Somebody has my. So if you guys would like these slides, and I'm in the process of writing a report called How to Read Your Prospect's Mind. If you guys want that, just send me an email at david@daved.com, david@daved.com. And in the subject line, this is really important, put Dan Kennedy slides. Just put Dan Kennedy slides. And I'll send you the slides, and I'll also send you the report when it's written. Sure. Dave, D-A-V-E, it's David at daved.com, and D is D-E-E.com. All right? Hope you guys found some value from that. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you after lunch. Thanks. Thank you.